Loads of talking, top rope walking, ultimate Xing, serious flexing, never be vague with your boy Craig, and opinion mixing from Pete to Nixon. Keep doing things in an impactful way. Bloody nonsense, as the Brits say. Talking bloody nonsense.
Yes, it's me. It's the MIC, Craig, aka Mr. Impact. Joined as always by the one and only Peter Nixon. This is Talking Bloody Nonsense right here on the TNIW channel. It's a new week, it's a new Impact, but first things first. Nixon, how's it going?
I'm all right, Craig. I thought instead of having a beer with me today, because the weather's cooling down over here in jolly old England, I make myself a nice hot chocolate in my genie mug. And I like to, do things a bit different with hot chocolate. So I put a little bit of raspberry jam in there, but it wasn't seedless. Okay. So it's blended nicely. But if you see me take a swig and then pick a pip seed out of my tongue, I apologise because it's disgusting, and you don't need to see it. But I'm going to do it anyway.
Fair enough. I've just gotten into hot chocolates. I've never really been a hot drink type of person, but now I've basically become addicted to a Starbucks hot chocolate with a bit of peppermint in it.
Oh,
perfect! Yeah.
So I don't like tea or coffee, and as English gentlemen, I feel like we're letting the side down a bit.
Yeah, and I'm not really coffee or tea. I tried coffee when I was a kid, and it put me for life. Just not about that.
And tea, how can anyone drink that god awful shite?
Oh, my granddad was a big tea drinker, but he drank it in the summer. Apparently, it cooled him down.
How?
I don't know. But my granddad was a big tea drinker. But anywho, and almost completely off topic. Oh, yeah, we are completely off topic there. But I guess we should talk some Impact. But if you follow us on social media, you'll have seen the announcement. TBN Chats episode 11, I believe. It's Zach Knight's that Zodiac, which I'm very, very excited for that one. As you see this, that episode will have been recorded and will be dropping in the near future. I've also I won't say the name yet, just in case it falls through, which is more likely. But also had 2 potential guests, just figuring out the dates. But again, excited for those 2. It's almost like a wait. It's like the buses here in the UK. Wait for 1, 3 coming all at once. But that's for the future. Right now, it's Talking Bloody Nonsense. And we're going to get into some Impact Wrestling. And we're going to start off with Honor No More. Of course, if you've watched last week's Impact, you know Honor No More lost the tag team championships to Heath and Rhino. And the OGK, the Kingdom, were on AEW. And from the things I've read, have signed with AEW for multiple years. But as a faction, I want to discuss whether or not they made a lasting impact. Whether this team will be looked back on in years to come. Look, yeah, that was a great faction that worked really well. I know I posted on social media a few days ago, asking people what they thought. Seemed to be very mixed reactions, but I want to get your take on it. I want to know more. I know you're a big fan of them. You're a big fan of the Kingdom and especially PCO. How do you feel about Honor No More, the run they had, and whether it will be really remembered, not just by the Impact diehards, but by Impact fans in general? Did Honor No More make a lasting impact, in your opinion?
The short answer, did Honor No More make a lasting impact? No. And here's my feelings on Honor No More. When they came in at Hard to Kill, I was so excited. And that first set of tapings, absolutely brilliant. And then Kenny King came in, and it was proper underway, and there was nothing stopping them. They were going to take over the company. And then AEW bought Ring of Honor.
Mm-hmm.
Or I should say Tony Khan bought Ring of Honor, and that's now integrated into AEW. So they basically doubled their title belts when they didn't need any more title belts to begin with. That's another story. When it was announced on Dynamite that Tony had bought Ring of Honor, it instantly meant that Honor No More, just the name and the idea of the group, the core focus and goal of this group of people was just thrown away.
Yeah.
It no longer made sense to go with that, and it meant Honor No More kind of lost their way. And it wasn't really until Taven and Bennett won the tag titles and Eddie became number one contender for the world title that Honor No More started to creep back up. But until then, they were beaten by Bullet Club. They were beaten by the TNA Originals.
Yeah.
They were beaten by America's Most Wanted. Their signature match, the 5-on-5. I don't think they won a single one. I think they might have beat Bullet Club on the Emergence show, but yeah, when in a year's time, when we look back at Honor No More, I'll remember the debut fondly and how much I popped when PCO debuted, and then I'll remember the tag title run, as short as it was. I was so chuffed that Taven and Bennett got to win the tag titles and got a big victory over the Motor City Machine Guns in a brilliant match at Bound for Glory.
Yeah.
I'll remember PCO's debut and his run. The stuff he did with Jonah and the stuff he's got yet to come, but we'll talk about that later on. But I won't remember Eddie as the leader. I'll remember, when I think about Eddie Edwards, I think about, die-hard Eddie Edwards and the American Wolves.
Right.
When I think about Kenny King, I think about, the stuff he did in Ring of Honor and the stuff he did as X Division champion in his previous run. I won't remember him as part of Honor No More. And the same can be said for Vincent. I'll remember him as the Horror King, as a part of the Righteous, but not as a member of Honor No More. That's where I stand on, did Honor No More make a lasting impact? No, is the answer.
Yeah, I have to agree. It was when they first came in, I wasn't. I've said it before. I was never really on Ring of Honor guy. I watched one episode, and that was pretty much it for my watching of Ring of Honor. But I knew who all those people were. I was, of course, familiar with Mike Bennett, but again, because of his time in Impact as the Miracle, which was great. Matt Taven, again, I remember. I mainly remember him carrying around the Ring of Honor World Championship when he wasn't Ring of Honor World Champion. Well, it's the purple belt which got smashed up. But as Honor No More, Impact and Factions has a mixed history. You can either have a really successful faction like Main Event Mafia, or you have a faction with all the potential in the world, but it just all that burrs and if it just dies off a cliff like Aces and Eights. It's the Impact and Factions can work, or it just really doesn't. And this one, Honor No More, was in the middle because again the potential was there, But obviously, Tony Khan buying ROH, like you said, didn't help matters because it stalled what the message was. And of course, no one knew if they were going to go back to Ring of Honor. So even though they did extend for a little bit longer, but that of course didn't help, which, you know, I guess if Impact didn't want to happen, they should have given longer contracts. But Impact have always had this thing with contracts, and as far as we were aware, we knew ROH was coming back. Even Anthem tried to buy them, but I guess Tony Khan had the better offer, which fair enough. It just, for me, I'm with you in that I remember more OGK than I will remember Vincent, PCO, and Kenny King as being part of that group, because if OGK were the ones who made the most impact out of that group, Kenny King already had history with Impact, so he'll be remembered no matter what. He won't be remembered as the guy on Honor No More. But yeah, when Kenny joined Honor No More, that should have been it. That should have been the rocket strapped to that group and straight to the top. But the rocket kind of ran out of fuel halfway through. And it's really, it's, I guess sad is kind of the right word, because of how much potential that group had, because of how great the Kingdom are as a team. Eddie turning heel, he needed that, because even though the crazy Eddie who can carry Kenny around all the time, that happened, and Eddie was doing well. I mean, people were singing his theme song when he came out. Like, you don't get that for a lot of people. But it was starting to kind of feel stale. Like, it was just there. Eddie was just floating around, getting a good reaction, but not doing an awful lot. Apart from making the babyface, the young heels look good, like Ace Austin, helping him on his way and helping whoever else on their way, picking up the World Championship when it had just been essentially just thrown to the side in that whole mess with Tessa Blanchard. But he was just there. You know, great fuse, with Killer Cross before that came to that mess happened. Of course, Eddie and Sammy will go down as one of the greatest feuds in TNA Impact history. But he needed a fresh start as a heel, and it worked. When Eddie turned heel, I hated him. I was fuming with all my soul. I remember when that happened, all my soul, I went, fuck you. That, with my soul. But then when you get that speech about why he did it, I got it. That speech, a lot of people got it, because they knew what he was talking about, and it should have been. What he said should have been. He should have faced Kenny Omega. He should have done that, done this, and that. But as far as Honor No More, the faction goes, it could have been a lot better, and should have been a lot better. But I understand contracts are an issue. But on the other side of that, the contracts were running up, and they made OGK Tag Team Champions. So they knew the contracts were up, but they still gave them the titles, which seems to be it's happened twice in the last year. A team they know is going to put the belts on them as like a thank you. That Impact used to do that a lot, especially with the World Championship, and thought that thing had came to an end. That whole period of giving the belt to someone on the way out, but it seems to have come back with these tag titles. I mean, here's a little bit of a political satire for you. Liz Truss was in power longer than LGK had the tag team titles. And that's saying something. But it's, I wish this faction had worked with all of my being, because even though there wasn't really a youngster in there that could have that you could pick out and yeah, that guy's the future, but you had that star in there like of PCO. PCO will be the standout of that group, even though it's crazy to think that the guy's what 54, and he is a standout of a group. He came out on top, and that turn, we all knew it was coming, and it finally happened, and people loved it. It was fantastic, even though we knew it was coming, but it worked to perfection. As on and more, like I said, it should have worked, didn't as much as it should have, but that's where we are with on and more, and it's unfortunate because there was so much potential for that group, and you know, they could have gone. I don't think any faction in Impact has ever held every single title. It hasn't happened, has it? The Mafia came close, but
yeah, but they never had a female representative, like an actual female wrestler representative.
Yeah. So no, that faction, I don't know, more could have been it. They could have been the most dominant faction, because like no other faction has won a tag title, won women's titles. But even I mean, no, Joe wasn't ex champion for the Mafia, was he? No. But like, and that could have been it for no more. But I guess now I have to move on from that faction, and the Impact have to find a faction and it has to work, because it's happening too often where it just doesn't work anymore. Now, I think the major players could be a major faction. If they bring in Vex to the major players, that can work really well. But whether they will, it's a whole other thing.
And whether Chelsea Green sticks around long enough for that to happen.
Right. And that, I don't know.
But then that's a very small amount of people to have all your belts on. If you have Cardona as world champion, Myers as digital media and X Division champion, then both as tag titles, that means Brian Myers holds 3 different championships.
Now, as far as the X Division title goes, it's got to be my boy VSK.
He's back in AEW now, though, isn't he?
Yeah, looks that way, which sucks. But anywho, there has to be. I mean, because when you look at Impact's factions and the history of factions, you know you have Immortal, you have Mafia, you have, I mean, Ace and Eights. There's so many more factions. The people. Oh my. Yeah, how could I forget? You've got Team Canada.
The Menagerie.
Oh, dearie me. That was. Did they ever win a match as a faction? I don't think
the only thing I can remember about the Menagerie is, well, first off, they introduced us to Crazy Steve and Rebel.
Yeah.
And then Mike Knox had this incredible match with Austin Aries just out of nowhere.
Yeah. Yeah, it was.
When those two were paired, we thought, Christ, is this going to work? Austin Aries makes it work with anyone.
Yeah.
It's a shame he's such a controversial figure, because I was such a fan of his work.
Yeah. I mean, I do want to touch on something about Austin Aries, but I think I'll do it in the final 10. I think it might work a little bit better there.
Yeah.
But yeah, but back on the more before we move on. Should have worked, didn't work as much as it could have, and I guess PCO sticking around, Kenny King. I mean, he's part of this extrusion tournament, so I'm guessing he's sticking around a little bit longer, which I'm fine with. Vincent looks to be heading to WWE, and of course OGK are all elite, or probably going to be ROH.
We're talking about Honor No More like it's over.
Yeah.
There's still a chance it could be totally revamped.
Yeah, I mean, PJ Black is coming back, which I guess we'll get into that now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Out of nowhere on the first X-Ring tournament bracket, the second ever King of the Mountain champion, PJ Black, is coming back to Impact Wrestling, along with Alan Angels. I mean, but that's that is for the final 10, which we got that. But yeah, but the one I want to talk about is PCO and Johnny Swinger, who have both re-signed with Impact Wrestling, which honestly I'm fine with that. I'm very pleased with that because Swinger. I mean, let's be real. When Swinger was first announced as come back to Impact with this whole Swinger gimmick, like it was people are like, and what's the point in this?
Yeah, I was like, why Johnny Swinger? Why? I mean, it would have been 2019. Why Johnny Swinger in 2019? I've been watching him since 1998.
Yeah.
Fuck me.
Oh.
That's how surprised I was.
Good.
Sorry.
No, I didn't know who Swinger was. I didn't know it was that Johnny Swinger. I'd seen a few stuff from the from the Asylum era and the thing with Simon Diamond, but I didn't know it was that Johnny Swinger. And who knew Johnny Swinger was so entertaining? Who knew that Swinger and Diamond were that Johnny Swinger would have this and be such an entertaining guy who's so creative in the things that he's produced with Swinger's Palace, and which was glorious. And now you've got Swinger's Dungeon.
Speaking of Swinger's Palace, right quick. So we had Hernandez over in the UK recently. He wrestled for Fightmare against Brett Semtex. He wrestled Zach Knight at WAW at the Performance Center, and he wrestled my good friend Brad O'Brien at DOA Wrestling in Bury, which will be on, it was called Night of Champions. It'll be on Fight TV soon. I don't know the exact date, but look out for that one. It sounds like it was a good show. Our boy Tony Purdom from the Clef Movement got to meet and chat to Hernandez and started talking to him about Johnny Swinger, and Hernandez said that character is just Johnny. That's what he's like.
Great.
That's just who he is and what he's like backstage. So I think that's hilarious that he's such this outlandish character, pardon the pun, Diggy Dice, that it's just him with the volume turned up a bit.
Yeah.
I think that is brilliant.
Yeah, love it. And of course, PCO sticking around as well, saying that Impact did everything they could to keep him on board, and it worked for at least for another year. I mean, yeah, those are two great signings for guys both in their 50s. The fact that they're still like they still have this in them for their careers is incredible, and the fact Impact sees something in them.
We don't age discriminate here in Impact Wrestling. If you've still got something to offer, if you're still, if you still bring something to the TV show and to the live events, then why don't you deserve an opportunity? Look at WWE let Taya Valkyrie go and Bobby Fish go because they were old and I think Tyre's like a year older than me.
Yeah,
I think she's 36. You know, she's
it's
not
batshit.
old. Bobby Fish is 42, but he's the same age as AJ Styles.
Yeah, it's
Baffles me.
yeah, that was insane that use that as an excuse. But on Swinger and PCO, Swinger is so damn creative, and PCO is just batshit, and he'll do anything to get a pop, essentially.
Yeah.
And it works. The fact that he's putting his body through this, fair play.
Right. So I'm going to take what you said just then and dissect it a little bit. You said he'll do anything to get a pop.
Yeah.
I disagree. I think all the risks he takes are calculated. And it's like we said on the podcast before, PCO, and he's said this in interviews, there's a great PCO documentary on YouTube. It's absolutely brilliant. Try and watch that if you can.
Yeah.
He said doctors have told him he's just got stronger bones than most people. You know, he's got a higher threshold of pain. He keeps doing these things and he just doesn't get injured. I'm touching wood now because I don't want to jinx him. But yeah, the fact that he can do these crazy things like jumping off the top rope and land back first on the apron and not injure himself, not break his back, is just, the mind boggles.
Yeah.
I was so chuffed. I messaged Alex straight away when I found out PCO had signed on for another year, because there's now a chance that we could get PCO as world champion. And I don't know if there's a transition between Josh and PCO, or if Josh starts to transition more into a heel character and PCO can be the guy to dethrone Josh after however long. There's lots of different possible outcomes, and I'm very excited to see what happens now that we have PCO for another full year.
Yeah, I mean, it's just to touch on Josh quickly. People have been speculating there's a heel turn coming for Josh for a few weeks now, and I think if they are going down the Macklin route, I think we get a double turn at Slammiversary. I have that feeling. I think there's a double turn coming, but I don't know if Macklin will suit being a babyface because he's such a good heel. But saying that, as when he teamed against Honor No More, he was a face kind of, and it worked. So I guess we have to wait and see on that. But no, and back onto Swinger PCO, right? So I knew PCO was because he won the Ring of Honor World Championship, and the internet be the internet, and they were a bit confused as to why PCO was being made a world champion as a 50-year-old. But I think it's safe to say he smashed it, and in an era where Ring of Honor was kind of fading away, because the elite buggered off and took a lot of their fans with them. PCO carried that company really well and got a lot of attention because of the stuff he does. It got a lot of people watching it because you never know what he's going to do. Obviously, not as much as they would have liked, but I think PCO being a world champion for Ring of Honor and now in Impact, I think it's the same thing. You don't know what PCO is capable of so much, and I think that's got to be an attractive quality to a lot of wrestling fans when you don't know what someone's going to do.
The thing about PCO as Ring of Honor world champion, I know people were a bit, thought it was odd that this 50-year-old man was Ring of Honor world champion, but he was over. The belt went from Matt Taven, who was a great heel champion, to Roosh, who was a really credible world champion. Roosh lost it to PCO, and PCO held it for maybe a month. He had a couple of defenses and then lost it back to Roosh.
Right.
That almost felt like a thank you to PCO for this crazy career he's had, that he finally got to be world champion in a promotion, in a major promotion.
Yeah.
But if PCO were to win the belt in Impact, the World Championship in Impact, I think he could have a longer reign, get some more defenses under his belt, and show that at 54 or 55 that he could still be a credible reigning world champion.
Yeah, I mean, just in his time in Impact alone, you look at his match with Jonah, you look at his matches with Doc Gallows, and there's so many other, like the five mans.
The match with Macklin where the collarbone was sticking out.
Exactly. This
collarbone.
PCO can have a great match with pretty much anyone, and that's kind of been a trend with Impact champions. You know they're gonna have a banger, and PCO will. I mean, even the match with Sabin when they first came to Impact, that was a cracking match. So it can go with pretty much anyone, any style on the roster, and pull out a banger. So, and if Jericho's of a similar age, if he can be Ring of Honor World Champion, why can't PCO be Impact World Champion? People completely buy into Jericho being a World Champion. The Ring of Honor World Champion as well, which is, I mean, Claudio gets it for what, a month and a half, and then drops it to Jericho. So if people buy into that, they can buy into PCO, which I wouldn't be disappointed. But as we covered the World Tap a bit last week, but I think it's full at the minute. I mean, Josh is defending against Matt Cardona has defended Matt Cardona at these past Vegas tapings. I don't know. Also, no spoilers, so I don't know how that went. But part of me is hoping Cardona wins, but I don't see it because you've got Macklin lined up against Josh. You've got Bully Ray. You've got so many others in line for that title. I just don't see where this one goes.
Talk about Bully Ray. How wild would PCO versus Bully Ray be in 2022 or 2023?
I mean, well, obviously, Impact definitely wouldn't shy away from it because they know people will watch that.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to get watched no matter how people feel on that one. So, I'll take it.
Yeah, too right. I know they worked together. Well, they worked in the same company in Ring of Honor, and other companies before, Ring of Honor.
Yeah.
But I'd be interested to see them actually have a program together.
Yeah, the Impact won't shy away from that, and I would absolutely watch it. So that's PCO and Swinger. We're staying with Impact Wrestling for another year each. Now we're going to get onto the tag team division a little bit, because obviously Heath and Rhino are the tag team champions as we record. It was Honor No More who kept them for, a month and a bit, if that. And before that, you had the Good Brothers. Again, was it the third reign? About the third reign. Yeah. Again, that ended pretty quickly because they were contracts were running up, and that's up into Honor No More. Then it was the Briscoes and back to the Good Brothers and so many other people. But now the tag team division has a gap in it, a pretty big gap as well. I mean, yes, you had major players who want shot at tag titles, but is that pretty much it? Is it just Heath and Rhino and the Machine Guns and major players? If that is, I really think of a tag team who are realistically in line as real contenders. Yeah, you have Dyson Swinger, but they're not seen by a lot of people as legitimate contenders, even though the Bromans weren't seen as legitimate contenders. So I guess, what do you make of this tag team division right now? No, I mean, OGK are they're around for, I think, got one more episode this week and then gone. Like, that's it. What do you make of this tag team division, and is now time to be a little bit worried about the lack of challengers, the lack of bodies in that division? Is it time to be a bit okay, but now you're only going to go around one way, maybe have two different feuds going on? What's your take on it?
This is all because Impact haven't been signing people, for extended periods of time. I know the OGK were in Impact for 10 months, but they only got the belt. They only got the belts like 6 weeks before their contracts came up, and they left. And the Briscoes were only there for a short while, and the Good Brothers had several different reigns over 2 years. And then, I don't know, you do have other teams, like Violent by Design. You've got Raj Singh and Shearer.
Sure.
You've got Decay. You've got Swinger and Dice, but they're all, like you said, teams that aren't legit contenders.
Yeah.
Legit contender-wise, you've got, Heath and Rhino, the champions. You've got the Guns. You've got major players, and I think I don't look at spoilers, but I think Aussie Open were in Vegas.
Yeah, Impact released a graphic. Yeah, they'll face, I can't remember the, but yeah, major players. They were at these tapings.
Yeah, so they would, in my mind, they're a legit contender because they're a big deal in Rev Pro and in New Japan, and they were for their short run in AEW with Ospreay. But yeah, I know it's a contract situation. There aren't many tag teams out there that you could bring in and straight away be contenders, because that's two people that need to be under contract,
it's
as
money.
opposed to just one. So it's tough, but I mean, I think it was. Did Craig say that? Yeah, Craig. Did Jeff say this on? Hello. Did Jeff say this on the mothership? Pointed out that the Knockouts tag titles have always been relevant, even though there's like 1 or 2 or 3 teams at one time. Yeah. And that's what Impact have done well. Or maybe not. Maybe done well is the wrong term, but they've
kept them relevant.
They've kept afloat. He's still there. Sorry.
Yeah. So here.
Yeah. I missed what you said then. Sorry.
I'm saying that they managed to keep them relevant without a lot of attention on them.
Yeah, that's something Impact have done well. So even though right now there's not many contenders, I don't think it's a big problem right now. If the major players left tomorrow, if Alex Shelley went back to his day job, if Aussie Open focused on New Japan, if Black Taurus went back to AAA, and we just lost all of these teams, then it would be a problem. But right now, I'm not worried. It would be great to have another couple of teams in the midst. But yeah, I'm not worried right now.
Yeah, it happens a lot with Impact, and like I said, it's about the contracts. It's how long, or not how long they sign these people for. And yeah, it's more money signing a team than it is signing just one person, obviously. But it's not like the tag team division in Impact. The tag teams from way back, like when it was the TNA tag team titles, which were some of the best looking belts ever, by the way. And you had beer money, you had Bad Influence, AJ and Kurt, and AJ and Daniels, AJ and Kurt Angle and whoever.
Team 3D, the Young Bucks, Motor City Machine Guns, London Brawling, Nigel McGuinness and Magnus. You had Magnus and Doug Williams.
Yeah. You had Steiner and Booker.
Well, you had the Steiners for a while.
Exactly. It's not great when you look back at that to how it is now. Even though there have been some fantastic champions, LAX, both versions of LAX.
Oh yeah,
phenomenal tag team champions. OVE were great tag team champions again because along with the new generation of LAX, carried that division for a very long time, longer than they should have done, but they did it.
And I can say that when you keep OVE in a vacuum, because we know Dave Christ is a scumbag, but when you just look back purely at their tag team run in Impact, they were a great team.
Yeah, when you look at the stats, they were a great team. Personalities and just general dickheadiness aside, like if you can focus on the art and not the performer, they were great.
Yes,
but you can. There's so many other people come to mind in terms of tag teams, and now it's dropped again. You mentioned all the people like Decay, Trey, and the Red Kid. Shout out to the Red Kid. Hope he gets better very soon.
Yeah,
but they seem to be teasing a real formation as a tag team, even though Trey wants the Rascals back. He wants the Rascals back, which I don't know why Impact dragging the heels on that. Sign him up now.
There's still that lingering sort of controversy about the Nazi salute, isn't there?
Yeah,
I understand, but he has apologized for it. He's he posted awareness tweets. I understand it's still a bit raw.
Yeah.
But yeah, once everyone's sort of settled down a bit, bring him back, and let's have the Rascals back.
Yeah, it's a shame the Rascals never got to become tag team champions in Impact. That if you're talking about massive injustices in terms of Impact Wrestling, the Rascals not winning a single title there has to be one. Trey obviously now multiple extra champion, great, but when the Rascals were on fire and he didn't pull the trigger on it, it's beyond insane to me. But they seem to be they are doing great in NXT. Wesley North American champion, so happy when that happened. Really, and even though it was 2 a.m. here, it took everything I have not to just go mad and cheer, shout my mouth off. I've been so happy for him. But anywho, back onto the tag team division. It's Heath and Rhino. I've got a feeling. I think Jeff has the same feeling as well, that they're going to be almost transitional champions.
Mm-hmm.
Which, and also shout out to Io, who's put out a great stat at Heath and Rhino, just Heath, is along with Bobby Roode, they're the only two people to hold SmackDown, Raw, and Impact Tag Team Championships, which pretty solid stat. But yeah, it feels like it isn't going to last very long. But I was still very happy because, again, maybe I know a lot of people feel like it shouldn't have been at the expense of OGK, but they're on the way out anyway. Why not? Why not do it?
Need to take the belts off them.
Yeah, they've been plagued by Heath and Rhino have been plagued by injury. I mean, what, for 2 years, 3 years?
Mm.
So glad it's finally happened, and it's not like they're a bad tag team. They're a solid tag team who can have great matches with pretty much anyone. The Briscoes, they had a great match with the Briscoes when they first came to Impact.
I said it was the Under Siege kickoff show, I believe. Heath and Rhino wrestled Raj Singh and Shearer, and it was the perfect way to start the night.
Yeah,
because Heath and Rhino are recognizable figures in wrestling. You know, even a casual wrestling fan will know who Heath and Rhino are. So if you're not necessarily an Impact fan, but you're a wrestling fan, and you see wrestling at the Paris Town Hall in Kentucky, or Center Stage in Atlanta, short drive from you. Oh yeah, wrestling, and you see Heath and Rhino come out first, it gets a big pop.
Yeah,
I would start every night with Heath and Rhino if I could, if I was the booker.
Yeah, they're great. And as tag team champions, it's been a long time coming. I mean, Heath did such a great job, or Impact did such a great job of utilizing Heath whilst Rhino was on the shelf, having him target Honor No More and just pop up, hit him with a wake-up call and run off. That was great because he got the pop. People cheered him when they saw him. They were always cheering him. Like no matter where he goes, he still gets the "he's got kids" chant. So it shows that he's over, and Rhino is Rhino. I mean, it's Rhino. What can you say? Everyone.
Rhino should be in the Impact Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
I'm sure he will be one day.
100%. 100%. But as far as the division goes, like you referenced, it's not like Impact's actually short on tag teams, but it's the people who can legitimately contend right now, which is what they need. They've got 2, which is enough for now, but start building up other teams. Like Decay, they're so over, but they just they haven't got they've never got the momentum to push forward to get the tag titles. They got a shot, but that was it. VBD seems to be pretty preoccupied with Sammy at the minute, so that can't happen for a while. I don't know. I hope it works itself out. It usually does. And Aussie Open coming in, great. Big fan of Aussie Open. So I guess not to worry about it just yet until if we lose another one in the next month, then yeah, I think it could be considered a problem.
Mm-hmm.
But right now is what it is. Heath and Rhino can carry the titles for a good few months. They should have a decent reign. Well, they could, but it's more likely that the Guns, I think, will probably be the next ones.
I don't think it should be the Guns to take the belts off Heath and Rhino.
No,
I think it needs to be a heel team because that's big heat to take the belts off of a loved team like Heath and Rhino.
So major players, I guess.
Yeah, has to be.
Probably at Overdrive.
Yeah, unless it's already happened and we don't know about it.
Who knows? But more like it'll be major players, which I'm fine with because I love major players. Cardona is doing some of his best work, and I'm loving every second of it. But I guess we'll put a wrap on the headlines, and we'll go on to head on over to the final 10. And obviously, the X Division title tournament is starting this week on Impact with Laredo Kid versus Black Taurus on BTI, and of course PJ Black is back. Alan Angels versus Trey Miguel. You've got Kenny King involved.
Kenny King against Speedball Mike Bailey.
Yeah, it's banger. Forget.
And the final quarterfinal is PJ Black.
Yeah, it's gone. Black Taurus.
No, Black Taurus is against Laredo Kid.
Of course he is. I will get the bracket.
Trey Miguel and Aaron Angels, Speedball and Kenny King, PJ Black, and
okay, this is going to be either really embarrassing, or we just don't know.
Absolute brain fart. Hold up, I'll find this out. Don't you worry.
It's gone. Oh, come on, where are you? Here we go. Yuya Uemura.
Yuya Uemura.
Yes, Miss PJ Black, which again, banger.
That'll be a good one. Yeah.
So just quickly, who do you see coming on top of that one? Of the tournament, who's next? Who's the next X champion? I'm saying Trey Miguel.
I would not be offended if it was Trey. I would be disappointed if it was Speedball, purely because then what was the point of Kazarian, wouldn't it? Yeah. So I don't think it should be Speedball. I think it might be Alex Boy Black Taurus.
I wouldn't be surprised by that because I don't think he's lost an extra. He hasn't been pinned in X Division matches, apart from title matches, but in contendership matches, I don't think they've ever been pinned in like multi-man X Division matches.
Exactly. I'm absolutely gutted that Alex Zane isn't in this. I guess he just wasn't available for the Vegas tapings, maybe.
Yeah, it would be perfect fit for it, but yeah, I can see the final being Trey and Speedball. I think but I think
the way the brackets are laid out, they would meet each other in the semi-finals.
Okay.
I'm guessing Black Taurus beats Laredo Kid, and then PJ Black over Yuya Uemura, and then I don't know. It's tough, isn't it?
I mean, obviously, it can't be Laredo Kid.
No,
which is unfortunate. I mean,
yeah, I'd love for it to be Trey, but I think it could be Black Taurus.
I wouldn't be against that. Black Taurus has been great.
But if Alec is going to predict Black Taurus and you're going to predict Trey, I will go with PJ Black.
Okay. So that's the decision right now. Now
that's the final 10. See you later, guys. Goodbye, my friends.
Before we go, we're going to take back a little bit to the next division. Obviously, the X Division has always been a standout of Impact. Most people, you could argue it's the reason TNA was so successful. Because such a massive part in making TNA what it was, and even that's Impact. What's been your personal highlights of the X Division and the standouts performance of the X Division? Because I mean, obviously you mentioned Austin Aries earlier in the show, and I still want to touch on something. So if we never see Austin Aries in Impact again, which let's face it, it's more than likely. Do you think his runs as X-Division champion will be what he's remembered for, or do you think option C will be his greatest contribution to?
I think that his greatest contribution to Impact Wrestling will be option C, winning the X Division Championship, cashing it in, and winning the world title from Bobby Roode at Destination X in 2012. Because he then transitioned into being a credible world champion, and he held the belt a couple of times, 2 different runs. Well, no, he had 3 championship reigns. Yeah, but he was never, after that, he was never again considered an X Division guy. He was a world title contender.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think Austin Aries' greatest contribution was option C. But then you can't discredit his X Division title reign. That match he has against Samoa Joe at Slammiversary in 2012, absolutely incredible. Are you still there, Craig? Because you're frozen on my end.
Back. Hello.
Did you what I just said?
Yeah. I caught yesterday. Aries option C will be his legacy, but he was a great world champion.
Yeah,
that was
champion. Yeah,
because that was my era of TNA 2012. I joined in. Aries, I mean, I kind of went in and out between Aries creating option C, then winning the world championship, and then Jeff Hardy win the world championship. Like, for me, I consider I started watching Impact Battle Road 2012. Because that's where I was properly in. I was good. But anyway, back to question of X-Division standouts and the moments of X-Division. Yeah.
So, you say you've been watching since 2012. I started watching NWA TNA in 2003. And I used to download the odd match here and there on Shazam. I think that was what it was called, that file sharing totally legal app. And I first saw AJ Styles, and I was blown away when he did the spiral tap. And AJ and Jerry Lynn became the first NWA TNA tag team champions. Absolutely blown away by AJ Styles. I thought, this guy, and this was the bar in my head. This guy's better than Rey Mysterio. And there's been guys, since then that have also blown me away. But AJ Styles will always have that, that trigger point in my head. AJ Styles. I remember seeing AJ, Jerry Lynn, and Low-Ki, the first triple threat match they did, not the ladder match, the first one they did. Still one of the best triple threat matches that you will see, and I'm sure it's on YouTube. So if you haven't seen one, that's incredible. So AJ, Jerry Lynn, and Low-Ki, all standouts in the X Division for me. You've obviously got Samoa Joe,
of course.
One of the best X Division champions of all time. You got Christopher Daniels, and you've got that 3-way from Unbreakable, still probably considered the best match in TNA history. And then you move on to Austin Aries. I'd even put Speedball's reign from this year as I would consider him certainly in the top 10 X Division champions of all time.
Sure.
Yeah, you've got Amazing Red.
So many people, like, I'm currently watching Genesis 06 as a X Division, it's like a tag team match, and you've got Michael Shane, you've got Christopher Daniels, Sanjay Dutt, Chris Sabin, Roderick Strong, Austin Aries. Like,
oh yes, I remember that match, the Elimination X, because it was the pay-per-view was up against Survivor Series. So
Yeah.
they did a 4-on-4 elimination X Division match. Yeah, I love that match.
Yeah, and Samoa Joe's just hit a Tower of Doom, I think it's called. Is it still called that?
Yeah.
On Matt Bentley, Sabin, and Daniels. And the X Division is incredible. You know, we've got, like I say, even Frankie Kazarian, there's so many people linked to that X Division title and the X Division in general.
Well, yeah, I mean, I forgot to mention Chris Sabin. He's got to be in the top 10, probably top 5.
Yeah, it's and Josh Alexander as an X Division champion. For me, I think one of the best reigns of the last 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
If not the best reign of the last 10 years. It's, you know, when I think of the X Division, of course, it's got to be linked to an Ultimate X. And you've got, I mean, is it the cutter from Kazarian to Daniels, who's hanging off the X? I mean, even outside of the X Division, but still associated with it, Elite Skipper with a cage walk.
Yeah.
Like, that's the most replayed moment in TNA history.
Mm-hmm.
And rightly so. It's the best looking spots, and beyond belief how managed to set it with a flat long. But obviously there are interesting sides, but like the Steel Asylum, which people shit on those matches, they weren't that bad. I think the complicated part obviously was getting out. Homicide,
Homicide could do it, could he?
Getting stuck. That was shit, but
that was unfortunate.
But those matches as a whole, like I think Kazarian won one of them, and then went on sacrifice in the triple threat in place of Kurt Angle.
Yeah, against Scott Steiner and Samoa Joe. That was the infamous Steiner math promo.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, even Pete Williams, very underrated in terms of what he did next division. There's so many, but I think the X Division has had some of, if not the best wrestlers in the world compete, and not just TNA signed talent. You know, you had the World X Cup again with some of the best competitors. You look at TJP, some fantastic reigns as Suicide and Manic, of course, and even at TJP, a killer run. So, yeah, I'm excited for what this tournament is going to be about, because there's some great people in this tournament, and it's going to be every match is going to be a banger. Which match out of the ones advertised are you most looking forward to? For me personally, it's Trey versus Alan Angels.
Yep, absolutely. That is exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah,
I know Speedball and Kenny will be a great match, but we've already seen it.
Yeah.
Same with Taurus and Laredo. They've been wrestling each other in multiple different match types, you know, multi-mans, etc. And PJ Black and Uemura is very different. I think that'll be interesting. But yeah, Trey and Aaron Angels, I think, is going to be a hell of a match.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Just before we head off, I've got a quick little side story on PJ Black. It's not really a major thing, but PJ Black still owes me some DVDs of Lucha Underground. I was sent out years ago. I sent out a random tweet. Said, "Oh, I need to start watching Lucha Underground, but I can't find it over here." Which I know I can, because I have a VPN, which I'm going to be using. And PJ Black replied to it, "Next time in the UK, I have to bring some DVDs," which is just out of nowhere. He responds, I have to bring some DVDs. So PJ Black, you still owe me some Lucha Underground DVDs. But I guess we'll call this a podcast. This has been a podcast. This has been Talking Bloody Nonsense. Follow us here, there, everywhere: Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Spotify, and wherever else you podcast. Don't forget, dropping soon will be TBN chats with Zach Zodiac, Zach Knight. Go check out every other TBN chats. Why not? We've got Glenn Davies, we've got Simon Hill, we've got Mark Adams, we've got Charlie Morgan, PJ Knight, Ricky Knight Jr. We've got so many more incredible guests and more to come. It's TBN chats has been a I guess you can call it a passion project of mine. I've wanted to do it for a long time. I'm doing it off my own back. Of course, like, see, you'll help and contribute with some major guests. But like the fact that, because before I don't want to get too much, but I think I suffer from depression and anxiety. So, but sending these messages to people, these wrestlers, and it's been a huge thing for me. I could never send a message. Now I don't even think about it. I send it off because it's gone so well and people have watched it and they've liked it and the guests want to come on. So shout out to everyone, because this is a huge personal thing for me in terms of getting over anxiety of sending messages. But yeah, of course, more to come. And I'm so excited to talk to Zach and everyone else is going to be coming on, hopefully. Of course, when I was TBN chats, you can go check out LOL Trainer is back, total non-stop deletion, Halloween special. Gotta go check that one out. Power rankings with the tier and Bert. If you want to be part of the rankings committee, message one of us or message Bert at BurtMacklin11, and we'll get in the power rankings committee to vote on your top 10 each week for Impact. Of course, check out Jeff and whoever he has as his co-guest each week on the Mothership. That's Sunday on twitch.tv/TNIW channel. Go follow us here. Yeah, so follow us here and everywhere. Facebook, you know the whole thing by now. I've been there, I say this has been Nixon, and we'll continue to be Nixon. Until next time, goodbye, my friends.